Welcome back to more Divine Cooking at Home. I'm Darren, a passionate food educator, and today we're going to talk about the perfect summer sides for barbecuing. So we have two things that we're going to discuss with you today and show you. We're going to make a za'atar cauliflower, a whole roasted cauliflower, and we're going to make a Swiss chard gratin and onion gratin. Great things, both really great dishes, super easy. What I really like about the gratin is it's inspiration from my mom. Growing up, she was always going out to the garden and picking up beautiful, simple vegetables, whether it be peas or spinach or Swiss chard or any of those things. And she'd quite often do them in a cream sauce. And I'll tell you, I love that. And so that's from my mom. That's an inspiration from my mom. The whole roasted cauliflower is just a thing of beauty. It's magnificent to look at, and it just works. Super easy as well. So we're going to get started. The very first thing that we're going to do is we need to get some of the oil and seasoning mixture ready for our whole cauliflower. So today we're using actually a spice mixture called za'atar. It's a Middle Eastern spice mixture. It has sesame seeds, sumac, thyme, and a bunch of other stuff. There's many different variations of it, but you can buy it already pre-prepared, ready to go through many different kind of specialty markets. So we're gonna get that going by taking our za'atar mixture. You can see the sesame seeds and lots of beautiful stuff in there. So we're gonna add that to our bowl. Then we're gonna add some olive oil, and you can be pretty generous with it. Then we're gonna add a little bit of salt and some black pepper. All right, and then we're going to grab a lemon, and we're going to zest the lemon. So we're going to put both the lemon zest in here as well as the lemon juice. And that just will give us two different things. The lemon zest is much more aromatic. It's going to give us that beautiful aromatic, lemony, kind of beautiful freshness. And then we're going to also hit it up with a little bit of the juice, which will give us that acidic note. All right, so there's the lemon zest, which will go into our mixture. And then a little bit of lemon juice. Okay, looking good. All right, so that's pretty much everything that we're gonna put in there. We're gonna give this a stir. And a little taste, of course. Yeah, that's really good. Maple syrup. We're going to add a little bit of maple syrup for the sweetness. That's what it was missing, a little bit of maple syrup. So that's our marinade. That's going to go both inside as well as over the top of our cauliflower. So now we're going to trim up our cauliflower. So you can see typically when you buy a cauliflower, it'll come with all the greenery around it. We want to get rid of the greenery, but we don't want to take out the core that's holding the whole cauliflower together. Okay, so I suggest you take a little bit off at a time. You don't want to get too carried away right off the bat. You can't obviously put it back if you've cut it off, so take off a bit at a time. As I mentioned, this thing is beautiful when you put it on a table. People can literally, when you cook it and it's nice and tender, you can literally just cut it with a butter knife or what have you, and it's just amazing how easy people can serve themselves with it. All right, so I am going to take a little bit more, but now I can kind of see what I'm dealing with. So I'm going to take a little bit more here, you want to be able to access the inside of the cauliflower. And what I mean by that is there is actually a bunch of holes here around the edge, and that's important to expose those. So then, once we have it to that stage, we can take our marinating mixture, our lovely seasoned oil, and we're going to spoon about half the mixture over the bottom of the cauliflower. The cool thing about this is this fills in all those holes on the inside of the cauliflower. And we're going to leave it. We're going to give it about a minute or two to sit like that. You can let it sit longer for sure. Once you get it in a good spot, you can see it'll actually absorb a whole bunch of that oil. All right. So we'll give that a moment to do its thing. It's just gonna soak up some of the flavor and the love. The nice thing about doing this process is when you flip it over and cook it on the barbecue in your cast iron pan, when you serve it and you cut it open, you end up exposing all those seasonings that went inside the cauliflower. So very, very cool. Kind of a neat trick for sure. All right, and the next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna let that sit for a minute. We're going to start working on our Swiss chard and onion gratin. So we have some Swiss chard here. We are going to give it a quick blanch, and this is a really quick and easy process. We've already given it a wash, so we're just gonna give it a chop. We have some boiling water happening here. I've already added salt to the water. So we'll just give this a chop. That way we don't have to do anything when it comes out of the blanching water. We just have to chill it down and wring it out. You can use spinach, you can use rainbow chard, any type of chard at all. Beet greens will work fine for this as well. It's pretty much open to kind of whatever you want. Growing up, I wasn't a big fan of Swiss chard until I finally realized the advantage and the well, it's delicious, and I was being a child. All right, so now that we've chopped that, we've got our boiling water, using our Hutch kitchenware, of course. We're gonna add that, and this will only take a moment or two to blanch. Very, very quick. Okay, so we'll give that a stir. If your water was boiling, this will be done within about 1 minute. You don't need to cook it a lot. We do want it to be a little bit tender, and that will happen in that 1 minute. Also, it's gonna be baking a little bit in the oven, so it will have some time to cook as well during that time. So we'll give that a moment here. You wanna make sure you have your colander ready to go. And after that minute, we will be organized to do that. Well, that's finishing up there. We're going to start on the base of our gratin. It's a very, very simple base, and that's why I like this recipe so much. So we're gonna take any kind of onions that you can think of that you have on hand. I like to use a combination of things. I always find that the variety gives you lots of different kind of textures and flavors to work with. So we're gonna start with a little bit of butter in the pan. I have some whole cloves of garlic, believe it or not. I'm gonna add those. Garlic is quite often really strong and pungent when it's raw, but when it's cooked, it is totally different. It's nice and sweet and doesn't have that pungent flavor at all. Then we're gonna add some leeks. Now I'm doing two kind of smaller versions of the gratin in these pans here, so I'm gonna go a little bit lighter on the amount that I'm putting in there. We're also gonna use a little bit of sweet onion as well as some shallot. If you have pearl onions that are, you know, fresh and ready to go, you can use pearl onions as well. That's a good option. All right, so I'm gonna just pause there for a moment. We're gonna drain our Swiss chard, and I'm gonna run a little cold water over that, just enough so that I can work with it. We wanna be able to wring it out and get all the water out of it, and that's about it. It will make the color really nice and vibrant as well at this point. So you can see it's got a bright red color, or you can't see, but you're gonna be able to see. You can see the beautiful color there. Okay, so we'll give that a moment just to drain. And then we'll have a little look at our gratin here. So again, our onions started to be in there. We got some butter. We've got some shallots. These are a locally grown shallot, so really nice, sweet, beautiful, like a small onion basically. So you can peel those. And then we're gonna use a little bit of sweet onion as well. I'm gonna use about half of this. That should be lots. Now the quantity of onion that we put in here quite often will look like a lot, but it cooks down. And so it doesn't take very long before it's way less than what you started with. And I like the onions to be nice and chunky so that when you bite into it, you get this sweet onion, a nice bite of sweet onion. I find that's the way that I kind of like this to be. All right, so we'll peel those up. And if you're doing, depending on the number of people you're serving, so this amount that we're doing tonight would probably be good for about 4 people quite easily, depending on how many other sides that you're serving. I should also mention that these two dishes that we're going to do right now, they go with any protein. So whether you're grilling fish or you know, barbecue chicken or grilling steak or a beef roast, a prime rib on the barbecue, whatever it might be, these go great with all of those. Very, very versatile, I guess you'd say. All right, so we'll get our sweet onion. And again, when it comes to the sweet onion, I'm not going to chop it really fine. I'm going to do kind of bigger chunks. And then we'll get it into the pan. So there we are with we have about 4 different types of onions in there, including the garlic. So we're going to hit it on high heat right now just to get it started. We're definitely going to season it with salt and pepper. But we're also going to hit it with a little bit of sugar. The sugar's not to make it overly sweet. It's to kind of enhance the natural sweetness that we already have going on there. Okay, so we'll set that aside. We're going to let that tenderize. So we're just sauteing these vegetables, these onions, so that they're tender, but we don't want them to cook down to nothing or caramelize, nothing like that. We just want them to kind of get tender. So then we're going to wring the water out of our Swiss chard. So the thing that I'm always blown away by is that big bunch of Swiss chard that we started with is now this. So it's cooked down to very little. Okay, so, and that's exactly what we want. You can see it's nice and brightly colored, blanched just perfect. And we don't even need to cut it any further simply because we've already got it blanched off. All right, so this is looking really good. The next few things that we're going to add to this, we have a little bit of Gruyere, so a nice cheese, and you can omit the cheese if you want. You can use Parmesan, you can use Asiago, you could even use cheddar if you wanted. It's absolutely wide open. We're also going to add to that a little bit of hot sauce. I'm kind of a hot sauce fanatic. Again, I'm not adding the hot sauce to make it spicy. I'm adding the hot sauce to give it a little bit of zip. That's kind of what I'm looking for in there. All right, so this is smelling really good. If you want someone to think that you are a good cook, saute some onions in some butter with garlic before they get to your house, and they will guaranteed think that you know what you're doing. All right, so that's looking really good. That's coming along really nice. We're using some non-stick pans from Hutch today, and they cook up beautifully. They're very even heat, and obviously the finish on them is really conducive to this. Okay, so we're going to give that. We also have some cream, and that's basically the love that we're going to add once this is nicely tender. We're going to add some cream and reduce the cream down a little bit. Okay, so while that's cooking a little bit, we're going to have another look at we've let our seasoned oil soak into our cauliflower. So we're going to flip it over into a cast iron pan. And we're going to take the rest of our seasoned mixture and we're going to pour it over top. And you can see it already looks beautiful. Wait till you see this cooked. It is a thing of beauty for sure. There we go. So that's looking really good. I'd hit it with a little bit more salt just to give it an extra little bit of seasoning. Okay. And everything is looking really good in this pan here. Nice and tender. I can tell it's all starting to tenderize. So now we're going to add the cream to that. Now we're doing a smaller batch, so I'm going to add about a cup of cream. That little bit of hot sauce that I was talking about. And we're going to grate some of this cheese, the Gruyere, to go in there. And that will just melt into it nicely. It's not going to be an overly cheesy sauce. It'll just give it a nice kind of a little bit of umami, kind of cheesy flavor, which will be really nice for that. That looks like a good amount. And of course, we need to make sure that this has got some seasoning as well. So always remember to give everything a little bit of seasoning. Okay, so that's going to reduce down fairly quickly. I have it on high heat, so what we're trying to do is just reduce the cream down a little bit so that it thickens up. And of course, the onions are going to continue to tenderize a little bit. We'll add that cheese in so it has a chance to kind of melt in there as part of the sauce. We're going to finish this. This is really nice because you can actually build this ahead of time. Whether you're going to do it in a cast iron, little individual cast irons, or bigger cast iron pan, you can have this ready ahead of time and just add it to put it in your cast iron pan and onto the grill right before you want to cook it. Goes very, very quick and easy. Okay, so it doesn't take long to reduce that amount of cream. It goes very, very quickly. So now we're going to be, actually now what I'm going to do is just see how we're doing for seasoning. Absolutely perfect. A teeny little bit of lemon juice in there is going to be really helpful. And then we're going to add our Swiss chard. And I'm going to turn the heat off and we're just going to stir this together. One of the more simple dishes you could ever make. Has that very country feel to it. And again, like I said, this was one of my mom's favorite. If it wasn't this, it was creamed peas out of the garden, but all beautiful stuff. I do remember having to shell a lot of peas, so I like this idea over the pea dish, but all really good regardless. Okay. So we're good to go. We're ready to kind of put it into our cast iron. And this won't take long because it's hot. So when you're cooking it from here and putting it directly into the cast iron pan, it actually goes very, very quickly. Everything's hot. We're going to top it with a little bit of panko. And then we just need to have it brown up a little bit. So in it goes. It's the perfect amount for these two little cast irons here. We may add a little bit more cheese to the top because who doesn't like more cheese? Always a good thing. Okay. So we'll let that just settle for a second. Hit it with a little bit of panko. And that's going to give you that nice kind of browning on top. All right, and then a little bit more of our cheese on top of that. Then we're going to go to the grill and we can go out and see our whole cauliflower that we already have on there, and we can put this one on. Okay, doesn't that look nice? All right, so we'll grab these two. All right, so here we are at the grill. We're going to put our gratin on. Those will only take probably about 5 minutes. I'm going to turn the heat up by them so that they'll brown up. They'll brown up very, very quickly. This is our whole cauliflower that we've had on. It's been on there for about 25 minutes. So what we're looking for is to see how tender it is. And you can see it is tender right to the center. So that is ready to come off. All right, so we're going to take that one off. And we'll bring it inside and we're going to put the other one on. We'll give it a bit more heat. And we're good to go. We'll be back in about 4 minutes to check on everything. So we are with the gratin, the Swiss chard and onion gratin. Beautiful, bubbling, looks really, really nice. Also, we have our whole roasted cauliflower with the za'atar seasoning on it. So both really nice sides. Would go great with anything off the barbecue, anything out of the oven for that matter. Any protein would work really, really great. And we're going to take a second here. We're going to cut this one in half because it's really nice when you can see the inside. You can kind of see the seasoning that gets right inside the cauliflower. And you saw how easy that cuts. You can literally take a butter knife and cut that. So portion-wise, a smaller cauliflower like this, you could easily serve 4 people with it. You probably get 6 out of it as well. And yeah, so there you go. There's some great summer sides. for any day of the week. This would be suitable for weekday or weekend as well. So thank you so much for joining us. Keep watching for more videos coming your way. Interested in more Divine Cooking? Check us out at divinecooking.ca or Divine Cooking at Home for Instagram. Tune in for more kick-ass food and kick-ass fun. Chef Daisy, where are you?